news excellence. News 5 on your side starts now.
Forced out on Thanksgiving Day.
Without this place, what are they going to do? Especially during this winter.
Why the city of Akron says people in a large homeless camp have to go. And the show of support tonight for those in the so-called tent city. Plus,
we're waiting, for God, a miracle from God.
Out of smoke comes hope. A church that stood for more than a century just a shell tonight. The churchgoers who say this setback won't stop them from worshiping. The late edition of News 5 at 11 starts now. The first signs of winter across northeast Ohio today and in Akron. The city there is seeing a dusting of snow. And soon, one place dozens of Akron's homeless turn to when the temperatures drop will no longer be an option for them. Thanks for staying up late with us tonight. I'm Mike Brookbank.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tracy Carlos. The city is telling people who live in Tent City to be out by Thanksgiving Day, leaving many wondering where they will go. News 5's Taylor DeHaze shows us now how they're warming up and hunkering down one last time.
It's cold right now, and it's only going to get colder. And those here in Tent City say they're just thankful to have a warm meal.
For one last time, they gathered around an open fire. More than 40 folks call these tents in Akron home, even in the cold.
It saves a lot of people from sleeping in the doorways of town.
Robin Swan shows us his home of 2 years. He's been here ever since losing his family and everything he owned in a fire. Thanksgiving being around the corner, he says there's less to be thankful for.
Without this place, what are they going to do? Especially during this winter.
Some describing it bluntly.
It's a kick in the face. A lot of skillful people that unfortunately are going to be asked to leave.
In September, Akron City Council voted to close down Tent City and have everyone leave the private property lot by Thanksgiving. To show support, local artist Lauren Najee is joining the gang sleeping outside Saturday night in this.
The deadline appalled me, but that's just for one night. I go back to a warm bed tomorrow night.
Najee will be sleeping in this colorful spherical sculpture tonight. He calls it emo, home spelled backwards.
Emo is made from the parts of demolished houses, and all the colors on it are from the original paint on the houses.
It's supposed to symbolize what he says is a confusing world, wishing Akron city leaders would change their minds about kicking these men and women out on Thanksgiving.
I know that they can't stay here forever, but in the middle of this weather to say, okay, out by Thanksgiving.
It's a question many here are asking in hopes someone will listen.
The Thanksgiving deadline for these guys to move out is fast approaching, and they're hoping that city officials have a change in heart. In Akron, Taylor DeHaze, News 5.
Najee will also be handing out coffee and donuts tomorrow morning after he spends the night in Tent City. He tells News 5 the show of support is all about letting the homeless and the world know that people care. Cleveland police searching for this man tonight accused of badly hurting a toddler. Police say Daniel Belcher assaulted the 1-year-old last week, sending her to the hospital with broken bones, ribs, punctured lungs, and a hurt liver. Her mother was arrested at the hospital. Police are asking for your help in finding him tonight. They say he may also go by the name of Christopher Davis or Daniel Huff.
Police arrest a second person today in the murders of a father and daughter last month. Cody Gibson now charged in the deaths of Paul and Paris Bradley. According to police, Gibson and Ronald Newberry tortured and then shot the teenager in the head and then burned her father alive in a car in East Cleveland. They say it started as a plan to rob their Bedford home. Investigators say Bradley's home was ransacked and doused in gasoline. They tell us they're still looking for more people in connection with that crime.
A teenager in the hospital after an accidental shooting in a dorm on the University of Akron campus last night. Police say 2 people who are not students were let inside the residence hall late Friday night, and that's when the gun went off. A 19-year-old was shot in the stomach. A 17-year-old is in custody.
We were all pretty scared. All my roommates and me, we were all in the living room. We locked the door. We were all kind of freaked out.
It's really uncomforting hearing stuff like that's going on, like a couple blocks over.
UA does not allow guns in residence halls. The university says it is now working with students to find ways to improve campus safety.
Well, winter packing its first punch, Tracy.
It is. The snow, we saw some snow falling. The storm tracker out today monitoring road conditions. Ashtabula and Lake County getting hit the hardest. Drivers we talked to say, you know what, they were ready for it.
Just got to be extra careful, take it slow, and just keep your eyes out.
ODOT today, they said they deployed anywhere between 15 and 18 trucks in Ashtabula County this morning to plow the roads.
Yeah, Ramisha Shade, we've been talking about the snow for the last couple of days, and in some parts of Northeast Ohio, it really delivered.
That's right. We didn't get a whole lot of accumulation for the Cleveland area, but it looks like a winter wonderland for parts of the snow belt. That winter storm warning for northern Ashtabula County has come to an end, but let's check out some of these snow totals. Some spots picking up several inches of snow, close to 10 inches in Conneaut, 8 inches around Ashtabula and Edgewood, so several inches of snow being cranked out by the lake effect snow machine. As we look at the radar over the last 4 hours, notice that lake effect snow starting to fizzle out, coming to an end. I can't rule out a few flurries, maybe a brief light snow shower overnight northeast of Cleveland, but overall, the chances for snow tonight are dwindling. You will have to contend with some very cold temperatures out there, though. Most spots already down into the 20s, still hanging on to 30 degrees across the greater Cleveland area. But even in Cleveland, those temperatures will dip into the 20s overnight. So dress in layers, bundle up, make sure you're prepared for the cold tomorrow morning. As you step out the door, we will still be in the 20s. We get a break from the snow for tomorrow, but big snow chances are in the forecast for the upcoming week. I'll have details on that next system coming up.
Okay, Ramisha, thank you. A 3-judge panel is dismissing a complaint claiming Governor-elect Mike DeWine's son should have removed himself from cases involving his father. The complaint is from back in January, and it said Justice Patrick DeWine did not explain how he'd know if a case involved his father, who was the Attorney General at the time, and the criteria he'd used to decide whether he'd recuse himself. DeWine faced similar complaints when he served as a judge in Hamilton County and on the 1st District Court of Appeals.
Floridians dealing with an all-too-familiar recount tonight in 2 races that are still too close to call, nearly a week after the midterm elections. But we aren't expected to get an answer about who will represent Florida in the Senate and governor until at least Thursday. Only about 33,000 and 12,000 votes separate the candidates in those 2 races. Both sides now pointing fingers, alleging voter fraud, suppression, and abuse of power.
I am replacing my words of concession with an uncompromised and unapologetic call that we count every single vote.
The suspicious minds would wonder why it's always Florida, Broward, where this stuff happens.
The president also getting involved, saying that he plans to send lawyers to Florida and accusing Democrats for trying to, quote, steal the elections.
Well, dozens of people came together tonight for a doggone good time to help a special pup. Emmett was hit by a car when he was about 6 months old. Both of his front legs were fractured. He was never seen by a vet, and by the time the group Buckeyes Mission became involved, it was too late. Emmett had to have a leg amputated. A fundraiser tonight in Brunswick to raise money to get Emmett a front wheelchair to help him get around. The nonprofit group is trying to raise $900 for the specially fitted wheelchair for him.
What a great effort. All right, you can put away your wallet. The Great Lakes Science Center is becoming one of the first museums in the country to accept Bitcoin at its box office. The change is going to take effect Tuesday. The museum says it's going to use the service BitPay to accept the online currency from your phone. They're making this change just ahead of a conference next week in downtown Cleveland that's going to talk about the benefits of using this kind of technology.
A man arrested for trespassing in an eastern Ohio city, but it's why he did it that is getting the attention tonight. Dylan Lockhart arrested with apocalyptic weapons. People who live in East Liverpool say he's a known zombie hunter. Police were called to an abandoned building. They say they found him in cargo pants and boots with a 13-inch knife on his belt.
If he's wants to explore, that fantasy world, do so with things that aren't dangerous to other individuals.
After going through his car, which looked like a beat-up police cruiser, we're told, they found balls and bats, other knives, and a loaded gun.
All right, coming up here tonight, a building that stood tall for more than 100 years, just a shell of its former self tonight. The prayers its members are saying as they try to find a new place to worship.
Utter devastation tonight in Northern California. As the death toll rises in the Camp Fire, what's making it so very hard to fight?
Honoring service.